1 week into the new school year, characterized by a two-shift system of education and intensified by COVID-19 preventive measures, the scarcity of textbooks adds to the difficulties of parents as publishers blame the shortage on insufficient funding and hardship. Improved recovery measures to save the states from the huge losses incurred due to non-tax revenue. The Directorate General of the Budget at the Ministry of Finance raises the alarm and opts for stringent strategies. The Ministry of Sports and Physical Education denies any state interference in the discord between FECAFOOT and the Professional Football League. The committee's setup is to guarantee the respect of the decisions of the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute is in the economic capital, Douala, for the inauguration of the new acquired by the Douala Port Authority. The head of government was received this afternoon in Dibamba by the governor of the littoral region, Samuel Jodone Ivaha Diboa, and officials of the Douala Port Authority. Christian Cheatam has the details.
Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Gute, received a double welcome upon arrival in the littoral region this Monday. First at 2:40 p.m. after the Dibamba Bridge, gateway into Douala, where an array of administrative and military officials were on standby. Joseph John Gute was received by the Chief Executive of the Littoral Region, Governor Samuel Jodone Ivaha Diboa, and other administrative officials against the backdrop of music distilled by a combined unit of military and security forces deployed to honor the august guest. The mayor of the Douala City Council and officials of the Douala Ports Authority, as well as some members of government from the Littoral Region, were also present to say welcome to the head of government. The second point of welcome, that is at the Sawa Hotel, was a purely political one. Women of the Wuri 1 section of the CPDM sang and danced as they wished the Prime Minister a successful stay in the littoral region. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute is in the littoral region in prelude to the inauguration of naval vessels recently acquired by the Douala Ports Authority, which takes place tomorrow.
The renovated post for the offloading of oil tankers at the Douala Seaport is a 7.5 billion CFA franc project executed by a French maritime construction company. The Minister of Water and Energy, Gaston Ndondwe-Somba, and that of Transport, Jean-Ernest Masena Ngale Bibehe, were at the site today to inspect the installations of the equipment. Gladys Atemba Chechuma Banla has the details.
It is said to be a revolution in operations related to the transportation of petroleum products at the Douala Seaport. Few years back, petrol was transported through rudimentary methods like filling it in tankers and gallons before distribution to depots, a process which experts say is hazardous to environment and man. The rehabilitated post replaces one that was constructed some 20 years ago and was destroyed by the shock of a vessel. It is constructed quite a distance from land for security reasons and has ecological advantages. The post equally links up directly to the petroleum depot at Besenge and supplies vessels directly too. The 7.5 billion CFA francs project, as of this Monday, October 12, 2020, is 90% complete. When it goes operational, it will have the technical capacity to accommodate huge vessels. Over 95% of workers at the post are Cameroonians, and the contractors say transfer of competence has been guaranteed.
And on the same event, on the esteemed instructions of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, The Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute, shall preside on Tuesday, the 13th of October 2020 at 11 a.m. the ceremony to commission nautical equipments acquired by the DUEL Port Authority. It is signed by the Director of Cabinet of the Prime Minister's Office, Balungeli Confiance Ebune. In economic news, and as announced in one of our top stories, the state of Cameroon loses billions of CFA francs annually in non-tax revenue, according to a report published by the Directorate General of Budgets at the Ministry of Finance. This has prompted officials and economic experts to push for improved recovery measures in order to guarantee the execution of development projects. Clarice Aretakang explains how these can be attained.
They include revenue from bills, telecoms, police, administrative and municipal services. They constitute recurring income earned by the government from sources other than taxes. In the first half of 2020, more than 12 billion CFA francs of that money did not make it to the public treasury, as revealed by finance officials. In the last 3 years, non-tax revenue financed the budget by 4%. In 2019 and the first half of 2020, losses totaled more than 36 billion CFA francs. The report published by the Directorate General of Budget at the Ministry of Finance reveals that payments recorded at the Treasury do not always tie with the amounts collected by administrations. This has therefore raised concerns about securing non-tax revenue. The document further discloses that there is a wide gap between what is declared and what is indeed refunded. This has led the government to up the contribution of these resources to 213 billion CFA francs in 2021. For administrations, therefore, focus amongst other issues will be on identifying non-tax revenue, examining new sources, and evaluate the effectiveness of the recovery system.
1 week into the new school year, the two-shift system is gaining steam in the secondary education sector, where enrollments per class go beyond 50. As principals and teachers adjust to the new arrangements, registration, however, continues for some pupils in Lower Seth. Ewane Pole reports on the new school year that is yet to begin for some, and actions taken to watch out for the coronavirus in school surroundings.
At Government Bilingual High School Ekorezok, Janus Trilingual College and Government High School Colbison, the attendance of students and teachers shows that classes are effective 1 week after school resumption.
The list we have in classes, after 1 month, the old students who do not show up will remove their names from the list. In any case, we don't send children out after 1 month for not paying fees. So the students come to school first and then they pay their fees after.
The first weeks, they are covering the programs for last academic year. For this new week, the teachers are preparing them for a small evaluation.
In this specific year, because there are 2 shifts, the morning shift and the afternoon shift, we had to increase the number of teachers.
The admission of students in some public institutions is still a problem.
As parents, we have moved up and down looking for admission. It has not been easy.
Given the fact that the government passed an order that there should be 50 students per class, we thought it wise that we create an evening school. We are going to be operating O-level 1, 2, and 3, and then A-levels for both sciences and arts, and then with commercial.
However, no COVID-19 case has been recorded so far in these colleges, as preventive measures are being respected to the latter.
Still in education, an acute shortage in the supply of official textbooks is being observed throughout the national territory as parents struggle from one bookshop to the other to get the commodity in vain. Local publishers blame the deficit on the lack of funding, which now obliges them to deliver books in bids. In the first of our series of running reports on books, Beatrice Lawsamber looks at the scarcity.
Bookshelves picked bare of official textbooks. The remnant can be counted with the fingers of a single hand.
There are books like Class 1 Mathematics, which are in short supply.
To the local publishing champions, the reasons for the short supply in official textbooks is fundamental.
Most local publishers don't have the financial capability to print the thousands of books that are required to be able to satisfy the entire market. So what they do is they print a few thousands and then they supply the market, they get paid, and then they go back again to go and print. So this week you have some stock, and next week you don't have stock.
Same old story as in previous years. seeking consent from the Book Commission.
That the one textbook per subject policy is a very good policy that, if well managed, can service the country.
While waiting for the problem to be nipped from the bud, an urgent need remains unsolved here. Some learners might not have access to official textbooks due to the acute short supply now.
Adjusting to this peculiar school year, the Ministry of Secondary Education has adopted a hybrid approach. This involves combining face-to-face classroom instruction with online and print lessons. As Yoti Kalelisongo reports, by doing so, teachers will be able to cover the prescribed 40 hours per week.
From a distance lies a solution to secondary education in a context where 15 hours of lecture time is sacrificed weekly to keep safe from the coronavirus.
We have registered recorded lessons which are available on our website and on our YouTube page. All the lessons we have the physical copy of it, the hard copy, which will be made available to students who do not have access to internet or electricity.
The proper infrastructure has also been put in place to avoid hitches.
In this building, we have the technical room, first recording studios. We have rooms which are dedicated for teachers to sit down and prepare the lessons. For the online part, we have an optic fiber network.
The teacher must know how to put notes online in the platform. Every student should be able to use the distance learning platform.
The contents for distance learning, officials say, will be made available in all subjects and cuts across both subsystems of education.
Bridging that report. In our hot topic tonight, we talk about teachers who sometimes leave their learners orphaned because they prefer to move to other ministries that have nothing to do with education. As a result of these uncontrolled exodus, government efforts to improve on the teacher-pupil ratio is thwarted year after year. Constantine Baum now expounds on the reasons for this switch and how it affects the civil service recruitment policy.
The year 2018 witnessed the recruitment of 1,000 bilingual teachers nationwide, integration of contract teachers into the public service, and the creation of additional teachers training institutions. These measures were to help reduce or close the gap created by the shortage of teachers. But the exodus of teachers from their original administrations do counter these moves by the government to have more teachers.
Moving at a time when they must have acquired more skills, so it is creating a lack somewhere. So I think it doesn't make sense to me.
Some blame poor management of teachers.
You can have two teachers have the same qualification, but don't teach the same hours. They have the same salary. That's not good.
Yes. Teachers trade unionists made these observations.
To rationalize the transfer to the other ministry, we can say that those who will be transferred will have at least 20 years of teaching.
You respect the teacher by giving what they need to accomplish their work. They will stay at their ministry.
A cross-section of the public do advocate for a reduction in the number of authorizations signed for teachers to move.
Try to reduce this or reduce the granting of permission in this domain, because actually they came in for it, they choose the job. They can't be leaving it at a certain point of time because of several reasons.
Higher Education Ministry has succeeded in getting their transfer teachers offer teaching hours. Calls are being made for secondary education to attempt the same approach.
Away from education, the demolition of houses constructed in risk zones in some neighborhoods of Bafoussam in the West region is well on course, with inhabitants left desperate. The operation, championed by the city mayor of Bafoussam, Roger Tafam, comes days after a heavy downpour revealed that buildings had been erected on waterways. Chair Tembok reports on the bulldozing meant to save lives.
Some residents along the Kangsablu neighborhood in Bafoussam are yet to recover from the shock and frustration following the demolition of their homes by agents from the Bafoussam City Council. Prior to this day, and according to reports, they were given 72 hours to evacuate the location, given that the area was identified as a risk zone where inhabitants had built along drainage. The decision of the city mayor Roger Tafam follows the heavy downpour that flooded the area and other parts of the Bafoussam 1 and 2 municipalities. The city mayor Roger Tafam, accompanied by the mayor of Bafoussam 3, said the idea is to avoid the recent catastrophe that took place at the Ngwashi neighborhood and claimed the lives of many. He hopes to give the town a modern status as the ongoing demolition exercise is expected to continue in the days ahead.
Efforts are underway to stimulate green growth and to create jobs in the private sector through the sustainable management of natural resources. A blueprint has been designed at a workshop organized by the Ministry of the Environment, Protection of Nature and Sustainable Development in partnership with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA. Here's an excerpt of UNECA's Sub-Regional Director, Antonio Pedro, on the essence of the workshop. Take a listen.
We are calling for greater collaboration between universities and the private sector, where universities will be doing the research and development, looking at the options to translate some of these things into feasible projects. And then the private sector picks that and raises it to scale and makes money out of that. How to create clusters where the private sector and the research institutions collaborate the most, knowing more about the opportunities. And hopefully through this study, our private sector will know about what is happening across the globe and what is it that the opportunities that Cameroon has can offer them as business opportunities.
Environment to security, a gang specialized in cattle theft around the Mbaka area in the North region is in the dragnet of officers in the Adamawa. The operation, which was led by the commander of the 31st Motorized Infantry Brigade, Colonel Dominic Njoka, halted the illegal transportation of hundreds of cattle to Ngaoundere. Ellis Waji Bangmia reports on the manhunt.
Some parts of the Adamawa and the North regions have in the past witnessed incursions and attacks from armed individuals, which often led to the phenomenon of hostage-taking and the demand for ransom. In order to evaluate security measures put in place to counter all forms of theft, the commander of the 3rd Combined Military Region, Brigadier General Aga Robinson, visited some of these areas.
The measures we took are yielding their fruits. The situation is under control and it's calm.
Many armed groups have so far been neutralized. The population, a majority, will rely on livestock breeding, and the agro-pastoral sectors now perform the activity in total serenity.
I've just prescribed, I told them to be vigilant because the enemy does not sleep.
In all areas visited, Brigadier General Aga Robinson gave firm instructions for the military to continue working in strict synergy with the local population.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
As pupils across the nation begin the second week of the 2020-2021 school year, health professionals warn against an upsurge of COVID-19 infections if preventive measures are not respected. This especially as Cameroon today counts over 600 active cases of coronavirus patients. How can a new wave be averted? Simon and his guest, Dr. Eric Tandy, provide answers at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. For most Cameroonians, the coronavirus is history in the country. Meanwhile, this is the contrary. The virus is still very much present among us in the society, given that we have many persons who get infected with the coronavirus on a daily basis. And if Cameroonians stop respecting these barrier measures, believing that the virus is history, we may have the outbreak of a second wave of this pandemic in the country. We discussed that with Dr. Eric Tandy, a public health expert. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Body.
Explain to us, with over 600 active cases of persons tested positive for COVID-19 existing in our society, how possible is it for us to have the outbreak of a second wave of this pandemic in Cameroon?
Yes, Bordwin, it is but very, very clear that 600 is not just 600. Remember, when this epidemic started, we were from 2, and from 2 right up to where we are today. We must be very careful because the situation is still very, very complex. Complex in the sense that we're experiencing the propagation already with new mutation in other countries, and then why not also in our country? We must be very careful to respect some of these measures that we put in place. And again, it's very disappointing between you and I. Of course, we've seen that a lot of people are beginning to abandon the barrier measures. So we must be very careful that we might lead to a second phase, and the second phase might be very much dangerous than what we think.
And simply speaking, what do they need to do, or what do we need to do to avoid this dangerous phase?
Yes, but first we need to do is we must get ourselves well prepared and go in for any screening if we notice any of the signs and symptoms that have been preached over the months. And again, we must intensify those who are entering within our national territory, because in Europe and other countries, we've noticed already an increase in the number of cases in a new wave. So why not respect this within our own context? If we must stay safe, please do not hesitate to go in for a screening and respect the barrier measures put in place by the government.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Tandy. The message is clear. We must continue respecting these barrier measures and have ourselves screened for COVID-19 to avoid any second wave of this pandemic in Cameroon. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Borden Sama, and we all must stay vigilant. The coronavirus has also affected food production, reason why experts in food security are deliberating on how to strike a balance between demand and supply in foodstuff amidst the pandemic. At a workshop presided over by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Bairobe, today, experts were challenged to ensure food security through policies that relate to human survival. The Deputy Director of the World Food Programme in Cameroon, Madam Kinde Samber, highlights the objective of the 5-day conclave.
What we expect is that we know, we have a better idea of where the most vulnerable people are. And also, if we do not do anything, what will happen? So it also tells us where, because we never have enough funding to do everything. So if with the limited funding that we have, where is it required the most? Where are the priority areas that we should focus on with our assistance to make sure that we're addressing food insecurity and vulnerability in the most effective and efficient manner?
Now on today's editorial, MTN Cameroon and the National Employment Fund have partnered to improve the quality of human resources on the Cameroonian job market. This is thanks to an agreement signed between the Chief Executive Officer of MTN, Stephen Blurrett, and the Director General of the National Employment Fund, Camille Mote Abidias. Saleh Ebenyanyoke reports on the events witnessed by Minister Issa Chirima Bakari of Vocational Training and Employment.
The signing of this partnership provides MTN Cameroon an opportunity to re-engage in public-private partnership and continue contributing concretely towards the development of Cameroon. Following the agreement, MTN will continue relying on local talents as it has done for the past 20 years.
Our discussions have been about, and it's something I've said already before, is how do we create employment? And how do we develop people's skills, especially in the digital economy? And how do we ensure that the young people of Cameroon who have the will, who have the intelligence, who have the ability, are given the opportunity to be what they want to be?
MTN, the leading operator in electronic communications, has hosted more than 200 trainees and job seekers over a period of 3 to 6 months within the youth internship program. For the National Employment Fund, the 2-year partnership with MTN will bring more visibility and job opportunities for job seekers.
Those job seekers have the opportunity to be in contact with the offer jobs of MTN and be places in MTN. We have already placed more than 50 persons in MTN in the high level. So this is just the formalization of our partnership.
The employment of young Cameroonians remain a problem in Cameroon, and the public-private partnership which MTN Cameroon bear is unique, reliable and a civic-oriented alternative which is laudable.
The public-private partnership is the key which will enable us to overcome all problems of unemployment.
This agreement will be implemented within the framework of three main programs of the National Employment Fund, notably the Employment Program for Graduate Citizens, Youth Employment, Retirement, and Support Program for the Return of Cameroonian Immigrants.
In culture, preparations are heightening ahead of the General Assembly of Sonacam, billed for the 24th of October. The Minister of Arts and Culture, Bidung Pat, has granted audience to the members representing the association to review the text structuring the organization. He insisted on the respect of the terms of reference and for the protection of artists' rights without discrimination. In sports, the Cameroon Football Federation FECAFOOT has been reminded that the committee set up by the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education has no interference motives. Minister Narcisse Molekombi, in a letter, outlined that the intention is to guarantee the strict respect of the decision of the Court of Arbitration for Sports, authorizing the Professional Football League to manage local football in the country. Baldwin Sama has more.
In his letter addressed to the President of the Cameroon Football Federation, Sports and Physical Education Minister, Professor Narcisse Molekombi, reminds him that there is no government interference in FECAFOOT's internal affairs and that the committee, created to permit the Professional Football League enjoy its full rights, does not ignore the decisions of FECAFOOT's last General Assembly. He reminds FECAFOOT that the decision by the Court for Arbitration of Sport is binding on Cameroon and describes FECAFOOT's action as illegal. FECAFOOT violated Article 40 of her statutes and even accepted a proposal by the National Olympic and Sports Committee for dialogue to prevail between the two football bodies. The sports board cites different articles justifying how his decision, creating an appeasement committee, falls within the ambit of the law. For mediation, the Minister of Sport cites the instructions of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, for the Ministry of Sport to permit the Professional Football League enjoy our full rights, calling on the Cameroon Football Federation to reassure FIFA that there is no government interference, while reminding them of the need to maintain good relations with the state of Cameroon.
Prime Minister Joseph John Gote is in the economic capital Douala for the inaugural nautical vessel acquired by the DUEL Port Authority. He will be representing the Head of State, His Excellency Paul Biya, in the event that will take place tomorrow at 11 a.m. And that will be all for this edition of the 7:30 News. Join Adel Mbala at 8:30 p.m. for the news in the French language. Our programs continue on the CRTV. Thanks for watching. It was our pleasure being with you. Stay safe. The coronavirus is still in Cameroon. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.